Welcome to this new edition of Echo Africa. It's good to have you with us. I'm Chris Alems in Ogun State, Nigeria. And with me is my charming co-host, Sandra Twinobio in Kampala.
Hi Chris. On today's show, we'll hear about a highly controversial topic, an oil pipeline currently under construction in East Africa that could have disastrous consequences for the people and also wildlife. But before we get to that, we also have this coming up. Why organic farming and high-tech are not mutually exclusive. How Ghana's cattle breeders are trying to stop their animals from getting diseases. And why whales in South Africa are under enormous stress. In Africa, foreign governments are spending 30 times more on fossil fuel projects than on initiatives to reduce the impact of the continent's second biggest killer, air pollution. According to the UN, every single year, close to 10 million people around the globe die from air pollution. Yet, due to the current energy crisis, many countries still want access to cheaper and less eco-friendly fuel supplies and are hoping that countries like Uganda and Tanzania will be able to deliver.
Murchison Falls National Park in northwestern Uganda is a sanctuary for wildlife. It's just one of 35 reserves, sanctuaries, and parks managed by the Uganda Wildlife Authority, which was established in 1996 and tasked with the protection of the country's flora and fauna. The parks attract a lot of foreign visitors. After farming and forestry, tourism is one of Uganda's biggest sources of revenue. But a number of these biodiversity hotspots are under threat from plans to extract the 1.7 billion barrels of oil that have been discovered under the ground here. Set to open in 2025, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, or EACOP, will begin in Hoima and run nearly 1,500 kilometers. It will transport oil from the Tilenga and Kingfisher fields and then continue through rainforests and alongside towns and villages before passing just west of Lake Victoria, a freshwater reservoir for millions of people. The pipeline will then cross northern Tanzania before reaching Tanga on the Indian Ocean coast. From there, the crude oil will be loaded onto tankers. In early 2022, Uganda's energy minister, Ruth Nankabirwa, sat down with the CEO of French multinational Total Energies in Kampala to sign the Lake Albert development project into operation. The second biggest investor on board is the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, or CNOOC. The two companies have committed $10 billion for extracting and transporting the oil. A welcome development for Uganda's State Minister of Finance for Investment, Evelyn Anite.
This is an exciting news for our country. It's long-awaited news. We should actually throw a party.
The Ugandan state has a 15% stake in the pipeline, and there's widespread optimism about the oil produced in the country bringing thousands of new jobs, as well as additional revenue. Among the critics of the project is Dickens Kamgisha, an attorney and the head of the Africa Institute for Energy Governance. He's been skeptical from the outset.
If you go to all the other countries that are already producing oil in Africa, you discover that oil does not create jobs. If you go to the communities that are losing their properties, that are being paid very late when the money has already lost value, their children can't go to school. The families, most of them are getting broken. Don't say that those people are finally going to get jobs.
This is the village of Ngwedo, not far from the Tilenga oil fields. Like their parents, the children playing innocently here are about to become so-called PAPs, project-affected persons. Among the older generation is Charles Otema. He used to own some of the land here.
I receive money from Total. Even they promised to give me a house.
The corporate investors have faced accusations of giving locals like Otema insufficient, if any, compensation.
If someone is not paid, the land acquisition process is not concluded. That is to say, people do remain on their land until when they are paid. And this is really important. This is really important for us. And this is somewhere the guarantee that they are able to pursue their activities, could be farming activities, and they are able to maintain their standard of living.
Total Energies' activities in Uganda are being monitored by Malte Gale, a member of the EU Parliament. And now that Uganda has pledged to implement measures to limit global warming, the Green Party politician says Uganda is in a good position to turn its back on fossil fuels.
Renewables are just the far better option for Ugandan people. And I mean, like, they do have all the minerals they need to create a really carbon-free future. They could play a very, very important role in the green transition.
A decision to leave the oil underground and thereby limit emissions would also be supported by conservationists. The WWF has raised concerns that the pipeline project could disrupt over 2,000 square kilometers of protected habitat that is home to a diverse range of animals. The parliamentary opposition in Uganda is in favor of the pipeline, but also shares the concerns of those who oppose it.
The government is saying not to have done due diligence and to have done an environmental impact assessment, adequate environmental impact assessment, okay, on the effect of the pipeline, on the areas where the pipeline is going to go through, the water bodies, the land and air. Those are legitimate issues that the EU is raising.
The immediate worry for Dickens Kamgisha is the grave environmental impact from the pipeline's proximity to Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria is a lake that feeds millions, over 20 million of people in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, and it is a source of River Nile that serves how many countries? So we don't think that there is a reason why you should risk such a natural resource with the project they are planning.
Concerns that are not unfounded, given previous incidents elsewhere. In 2008, several thousand liters of oil spilled out of a pipeline in Nigeria, leaving the soil contaminated by chromium, lead, and mercury with lasting consequences.
Our lives in Bodo depended largely on the sea. We depended largely on the sea and sea foods. Today, almost all of those seafoods have gone. We can't find them again because of the oil spill. And this has led to a level of poverty I will yes not find the word to describe.
Over in France, Total Energies is eager to rule out disasters of that nature with the new pipeline project.
There will be a monitoring process via a fiber optic all along the pipeline. This is first. And in addition of this monitoring, we'll have what we call some mainline block valve. That is to say, some tools that we can use in case of incident. And thanks to this, we will be able to stop the flow of the product at any place of this pipeline.
In Brussels, however, environmental risks and human rights violations remain on the agenda for EU Parliament members like Malte Gale. He continues to press for answers and accountability together with like-minded colleagues and was among the initiators of an EU resolution.
We want them to halt the project until all this is resolved, and of course as well Ugandan and Tanzanian side to respect human rights and to comply with them. And this should also be a clear sign to every other company in Europe that is active outside of Europe that we will watch them very clearly, and we will not turn our backs to them if they are involved in human rights violations.
Supporters of the pipeline in Uganda recently vented their anger at the resolution outside the EU delegation's offices in Kampala.
East African crude pipeline is safe. We are here to tell European Union to stop meddling on our oil. Our oil is our hope. Yes. Our oil is our future. Yes. Our hope of source of employment. Yes.
And Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has accused the EU of arrogance and dismissed the competence of its politicians.
When you go to this parliament, these are just young girls. Member of parliament, you are lecturing me what to do in Uganda, you young girl.
Citizens criticizing the pipeline face being arrested, as seen in a growing number of cases posted online. What's more, substantial deposits of gold were discovered in Uganda earlier this year, with a Chinese company set to mine the precious metal. The question again is, what price will the country's delicate ecosystems have to pay?
What a story. We'll be sure to keep you updated on any new developments. Now we head off to northern Ghana, where there are cattle ranches everywhere you look. But they are dealing with a serious problem: climate change. Tell us more, Chris.
Well, changing weather patterns are increasing the risk of infectious diseases. We came across a project that allows farmers to better protect their animals with the help of mobile technology. Let's take a look.
Fuseni Brima is worried. His family's cattle are not doing well. Here in the Savelugu district in northern Ghana, it's dry season. The grass has been scorched by the sun and good watering holes are a rarity.
Like when you just open them from the house, the way they are moving, you yourself will suffer, and the cattle too, they will not get eat like the rainy season. So this time they are not enjoying themselves.
But the animals may be more than exhausted and hungry. The herdsman fears they may also be sick. Climate change means that it's getting hotter and the cattle have to work farther to find food. That makes them susceptible to new diseases. Ghana's chief veterinarian, Dr. Bashir Kikimoto, works at the Animal Health Laboratory of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Government agencies have noticed that more and more livestock are becoming ill due to climate change.
Animals are forced to travel long distances looking for the water, and they all drink from the same source. And then by converging, they bring the disease from one to the another. It will move from one animal to another.
Savelugu livestock market. Meat production is an important part of the economy, especially here in northern Ghana. But every year, farmers here lose about a quarter of their animals to diseases. Many losses could be avoided. But there are not enough veterinarians in the country and far too little prevention through vaccines. The young Ghanaian startup Cow Tribe is currently trying to develop this potentially huge market. For $5 a year, the company registers farmers interested in veterinary services or products in a database. The farmers use their cell phones to sign up.
Looking at the platform, you can see where groups of farmers are located. So we send messages to them and say, this is the time you should vaccinate your animals and all that. And when they respond, we know how much demand is in different locations.
The company and the farmers work out an annual vaccination schedule together. The startup obtains the vaccines from distributors or the government. In the future, it plans to order from international manufacturers directly in order to obtain more favorable conditions. Vaccinations are scheduled for today in Savelugu, a village about 30 kilometers from the nearest Cow Tribe branch. The vet is employed by the company. Yakubu Idrisu's sheep are first up. They are vaccinated against ovine rinderpest. One ampoule is enough for several sheep. It costs around $10, which includes a 20% commission for Cow Tribe. For Yakubu Idrisu, it's worth the cost because more animals survive and he has significantly fewer financial losses.
When your production is high, definitely you get more money, you sell out some. And then the way our animals were dying, they were nearly gone extinct. So now we have more of them. Anytime we are in financial crisis, we resort to selling some of them. So it has impacted a lot economical for us.
Over 7,000 farmers and their animals in northern Ghana are already among cow tribe's customers.
They are always happy because we protect their animals against diseases. We train them, we impact knowledge on them, and it's so helpful.
But Fuseni Brima has not yet had his cattle vaccinated. He still wants to wait and see whether his neighbors' investments really pay off.
We are staying with agriculture, but our next report takes us to Europe. You might think that organic farming and high tech are incompatible. Not so. We visited a farmer in Germany who's completely rebooted his business. Going high tech saves him money and it's completely sustainable.
Let me show you all the nerve center of my cattle shed. This is our fully automated milking system. It consists of two individual milking robots. The cows are milked here automatically 24 hours a day. They have completely free access to the system and get a little treat when they arrive. A bit of mash, and that's why they like to come here to be milked. Obviously, automatic milking is a huge help because it gives me complete flexibility in my daily routine. Before, I had to be in the shed at 6 o'clock every morning and evening to milk them. Then there's all the weekends and holidays. I can call up a specific cow on this app. Let's take number 79, Uta. When did she last check in? How much milk did she produce? With what ingredients? When was she put out to pasture? Is she there now?
So, monkeys.
The Grazeway sorting gate works a bit like the milking robot. It recognizes a cow by its collar transmitter and decides if it's allowed to go out to pasture or not. All depending on its milk status. That's great for us because it selects the cows for us. We can let the cows graze all day, but only the ones who've been milked regularly. That way we don't have to keep herding them. As an organic grass-fed dairy producer, free grazing is essential. Cows need space. They have to and want to get outdoors, and that's why they get their grass on the pasture. Technology and ecological farming are in no way a contradiction in terms. Technology just helps us work more efficiently and sustainably, and above all helps us to conserve resources. Farming is a very capital-intensive business these days. We had to take on very high liabilities to get this project off the ground, with its big creature comforts for the cows, the free store and the automated milking system. Clearly that takes a certain level of self-confidence and calculated entrepreneurial risk.
This is
our floor cleaning robot. Its real name is Discovery, but we call it Disco. It helps me with the daily drudgery of keeping the slots in the floor clear 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's a huge relief, because I used to have to do that every day by hand in the morning. And doing that once a day was nowhere near as effective as when Disco does it all day long. In general, farm work should give you the chance to enjoy what you do, along with all the hard work. I need to have times where I can simply take a deep breath and just savor the moment.
South Africa is among the top locations for whale watching. But over the last 10 years, drastic changes have been detected among its whale populations. What's happening there, Sandra?
Well, one challenge is global warming. It is affecting migration routes and also the animals' ability to reproduce. Local scientists there have been observing the huge aquatic mammals for decades. So, we paid them a visit to find out more.
Okay, calf's on the right. Hey, right here. Yo, little guy, eh? There's mom. Wait, hold on. Mother's here. Fluke's under us. Yeah, just hold back.
Despite appearances, this is no conventional whale hunt. Matthew Germishuizen and his colleagues from the Mammal Research Institute at the University of Pretoria are trying to take scientific samples for the benefit of whale kind.
So in the arrow there's some barbs or hooks, and that hooks some of the skin or blubber.
So the skin is the black part, and then that is the blubber or the fatty part of the... So we use it for different analysis.
No, it's not painful at all. It feels probably like a bee sting or something, just like a quick sharp pain. And sometimes they just flip their tail up, but generally, as we saw, they normally just dive down, and then within a few minutes they don't really care.
The Bay of Hermanus, just east of Cape Town, is a winter base for many southern right whales. They migrate thousands of kilometers from their feeding grounds off Antarctica to calve in the sheltered waters. But the numbers coming to South Africa have been dropping for some time now. The researchers are trying to find out why. Back on land, the scientists return to the lab to process and label the skin samples and link the mothers with their calves. The samples are then frozen for further DNA analysis. GPS data of the whale's location is also logged into the system. Some whales are tagged with satellite transmitters, explains research manager Els van Meerlen. They provide insight into the mammal's movements.
For example, this female went with her calf to the Falkland Islands. Will her calf from now on do that, always? Or will this calf be random and say, okay, the next year I'm just going to go to Crozet Island? We don't actually understand that pattern. So what we're doing now with another student is overlapping DNA with stable isotopes. So stable isotopes are basically markers in the skin that tell you where the animal's been feeding and what it's been feeding on.
The researchers have whaling station record books on file. After hunting pushed the southern right whale population to the brink of extinction, whaling was banned in South Africa in 1935, and the population was able to recover. But recent years have seen an alarming reversal, fewer whales, and a worrying development among the females in particular.
Looking at body condition, we see the females have gotten skinnier since the last 20 years, so something's drastically changed in the last decade.
Are the krill that whales feed on moving further south, or is there just less of it? No one really knows, but the researchers are sure that climate change has a big role to play. And locals know that if the whales stay away, it would be a disaster for the small town of Hermanus.
The whales, I would say, they are very significant for Hermanus. I would say they're the main driving force for traffic here. Everyone who comes here, they come looking for whales. It is important for tourism. It is the main driving force for tourism.
The pandemic restrictions hit hard, but Hermanus is now once again welcoming whale spotters from around the world.
I just love to see them when they dived and the tails come up.
It's such beauty and so peaceful, like I said, and we need to make sure we manage that. So I'm hoping the leaders of the world understand that, not just from a South African perspective, but just understand that climate change is affecting us all. and we need to do something about it and do something drastically about it too.
Matthew Jermishazen does not doubt that the oceans are changing due to climate change, but to discover how that is impacting on the whales, he will have to spend more time out at sea.
Wow, what amazing creatures. Well, that's it from us this week. We hope you enjoyed watching and found our reports inspiring. My name is Chris Alems. Goodbye from Ogun State, Nigeria.
I'm Sandra Twinoblu, and it is also time for me to say goodbye from Kampala here in Uganda. Feel free to write to us if you have comments or ideas on social media. I hope you can join us again next time. Please do take care and see you soon.